What's going on, guys? And today I'm going to be giving you my tips on how to make the World Series division in MLB The Show 20. I'm sure some of you are stuck in that 850 to 899 range, just can't get over that hump to World Series, which is a 900 rating point. Some of you might be even lower, and hopefully these tips can help you make your way up to 900 and surpass that to get these great rewards that World Series division has to offer. So real quick, we're just going to run through the rewards for this season. So first thing we see here is this ZACK BRITTON 93 overall reliever. This card is absolutely filthy. I actually was one of the first 20 people to make World Series division this season. So I was able to sell this card for 275,000 subs, and I just placed a buy order for him to get him back for about 85,000. Making World Series just isn't about the name, banner, or the icon or anything like that. You can make some serious stubs making World Series, especially if you're one of the first to do it. I made almost 200,000 stubs just off of this one card and being one of the first people in World Series. So if you guys really want to make some serious stubs, making World Series could really help you there. Some of the other rewards is TINO MARTINEZ is a great platoon bat. He's still selling for 100,000 stubs as well. This Adley Rutschman is a great balance hitting catcher. I'm really excited to use this card at some point this year. I know for a fact that I will. I'm really excited about this kid. He's going to be very good in the MLB. Lastly, we have these JUAN, PIERRE, and Rogers Hornsby. These cards aren't the best. JUAN PIERRE is a great speedster and outfielder, and this Rogers Hornsby is another great contact hitter. But these cards still sell for a good amount of stubs, so it's a great way to make some stubs. If you want to finish collections, get Mickey Mantle, and do all that other stuff, these are a great way to accomplish that. So to make World Series, if you're starting out at about 600, it would probably take you about 15 or 16 wins in a row if you were to go undefeated to make World Series. If you're starting at 700 like I did this year, I made a World Series at 12-0. So you really want to be able to string wins together. You're not going to make World Series if you win 2 and then lose 1, win 2 and then lose 1. You have to be able to string 4, 5, 6 wins in a row if you really want to make World Series. So hopefully these tips can give you a little bit of an edge on how to make that happen and string together some wins. The first thing I want to talk about is your roster. You really want to make sure that your roster is ready to jump into ranked seasons. You want to be able to have some diamonds on here. You really want to have some glitchy cards, and you really want to be able to compete against some of the higher tier cards. Now, I'm not saying you need to have Mike Trout, Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson, and Gary Sheffields, but you really want to have some glitchy cards like the Faces of the Franchise cards. Those are very good cards. These cards like Gleyber Torres and Fernando Tatis, they were the ones that got me to World Series in the first season this year. They have great power stats, they have great contact stats, the defense is alright, but these cards can hit. And if you don't have these cards and you're stuck with gold in these positions, you should really look into doing some team affinities and getting these cards. They are very good and they can definitely get you to World Series. They are 100% viable without a doubt. Another thing you should do, you should probably have a created player in your lineup. I know that some people don't like them because it's not realistic or whatever like that, but if you really want to get to World Series, these cards are absolutely glitchy. As you can see right here, he has 80s across the board and everything pretty much, and when you throw some equipment on there, he's about at 100 everything. He's a really great card. I hit really well with my creative player, obviously. You should really look into creating one and doing the missions for them and getting them up to where they need to be to put them in your lineup, and that will really help you get to World Series. Another thing that is overlooked by a lot of people when it comes to their roster construction is their bench. You really want to make sure that you have some good platoon splits on your bench. So just right here, I'm looking at Christian Yelich. He has 103 contact versus righty with 100 power. He is my #1 pinch hitter against righties every single time. He's a great card, and you really want to look into the cards like that. Mike Piazza here, great against lefties. Nolan Arenado is also great against lefties. I'm really looking for the power and the contact against one side of play because they're going to be pinch hitters. You can also save a spot for a pinch runner. I actually don't really have one right now. If it would be anyone, it would be Cody Bellinger. He does have 76 speed, which is not bad at all, and it's completely viable. You can also look into putting someone in there with like Byron Buxton, the face of the franchise, who has 99 on both, I think. So that's a card you can look into having in your bench. They're good to have. I'm not too big on it, but I would definitely consider it if I needed one. For your pitching staff, I know I talked about this in the pitching tips video, but you really want to look into the pitchers with the sinkers and cutters, and obviously you need to have this guy in your rotation. Corey Kluber, this absolutely dirty card, so overpowered. Every single person has him in their lineup, but we are going to use him in a different way than everyone else. What we are going to do with Corey Kluber is we are not going to start him as often as we should. What we're going to do is we are going to start our 4 other starters when we can, And then if we need Corey Kluber, if we're playing a really good opponent, we're playing a sweaty game, we are going to bring in Corey Kluber out of the bullpen. This is because you don't want to waste Corey Kluber against someone that's not worth it. If you're playing someone you can easily score 10 runs against and hold them to 1 or 2, there's no need to use Corey Kluber for 7 innings when the next game you could be playing someone that can really beat you. So what I've been doing is I've been starting my Oswalt, Scherzer, Mize, and Whitley, and if I really need Corey Kluber, I will warm him up and bring him in the game. This really gives you an advantage on not wasting Kluber, and this is what is able to make you string together wins. So say you get an easy win using Forrest Whitley for 7 innings and then a couple goals out of the bullpen. Then you can go ahead and start Oswalt the next game, and oh wait, you're playing someone really good. You know what? Let's bring in Kluber. If we can score some runs, we're going to be able to hold him to only a few with Corey Kluber on the mound. I know it's a little cheesy, but if you really want to make World Series and string together 6-7 wins in a row, you need to be able to do that. As for the other pitchers, like I said, sinkers and cutters, meta, OP is what you need. Roy Oswalt is a great card. He throws pretty hard. He has a great sinker. Max Scherzer is the only pitcher in my rotation that does not throw a sinker, but he does have a cutter that is about 7 miles an hour difference from his four-seam fastball, which is very big. It almost acts like a little bit faster of a slider and really gets people rolled over a lot. So he's another great live series card if you want to put him in your rotation. Lastly here we have Casey Mize and Forrest Whitley. These two prospects, they throw pretty hard. They both got the sinkers and cutters and great off-speed stuff. So I'd recommend putting these two prospect cards in your rotation as well to make World Series. As for the bullpen, there's only one card that everyone should have and could have at the same time, and I believe that is AROLDIS Chapman. He is far and away the best lefty in the game. He might actually be behind BRITTON now, but I really haven't gotten used to use BRITTON yet. I'm excited to do so. But AROLDIS Chapman is that guy for me right now. He throws 102 mile an hour four-seam fastball, which is really hard to catch up with, especially on Hall of Fame difficulty and up. And then his sinker almost acts like a changeup as well, which is it throws off a lot of hitters. And of course the slider there as well. As for the other spots here, there's a couple glitchy goals in Lee Smith and Roberto Ozuna that I like to keep in my bullpen. I mainly use these guys if I'm down by a run or two. I don't try to use my big guys unless I'm winning. I will use Ozuna and Lee Smith in situations if the other people don't have the most stamina in the world, but they're very viable. They're 100% should be in your bullpen as well. Charlie Morton is another guy if I need to bring in a long reliever. He's the guy. He is great out of the bullpen. He throws a nice slow cutter, a knuckle curve. He's really good as well. And then on the back end, we have Rollie Fingers. I know not everyone might have hit level Silver 40 yet to be able to have Kluber and Rollie Fingers, but I would definitely recommend having him as your number 2 pick here. He's great out of the bullpen. He throws that forkball that is nice and slow. He has a glitchy delivery where a sinker really sneaks up on you, and I recommend picking him up for your bullpen as well. The next thing I want to talk about is actually your mental state when you were playing this game. It might not sound like it's important, but it actually is. The other day I played, I think, 7 ranked seasons game in a day, and I went 1-6. And the whole reason for that is because I was super frustrated. I was not doing what I was supposed to do at the plate, taking pitches, hitting my spots. So when you are frustrated at this game, when you're getting mad at this game, when this game really gets to you, and I know it happens to everyone, you need to take a break. You need to go for a walk, go to sleep, not play until the next day. You got to do something to clear your head and then come back fresh the next day, because exactly what I did, I just kept losing and losing and losing and thinking, oh, I'll get it back next game. That does not happen with this game. You will continue to mess up with your pitches and your at bats, and you will lose games in a row, which is exactly what you don't want to do when you're playing ranked seasons. You really want to avoid losing streaks if you want to make World Series. So if you are not in the right headspace, do not play a game. If you want to warm up a little bit more, maybe you can do that, but you should really, if you were frustrated at this game, you should really take a break and then come back later. If you want to be one of the first to make World Series next time, maybe you can play through it a little bit, but you should still maybe take like an hour break or something like that. You really want to be able to clear your head and then jump right back into it where you know you can perform to your best abilities. The last thing I want to talk about is actually the searching for opponent bar. You do not want to let this get too low. So what I'm doing, as I'm a 926 rating right now, I would not want to let this get past 800. The reason for this is I don't want to play someone who's super low. The reasoning for this is if I play someone who's way lower than me and I wind up losing, I will lose a ton of points. But if you wind up playing someone who's closer in rating to you, you won't lose as many points if you lose, and you'll gain more if you win. The risk is just not worth the reward with playing someone who's 300 points lower than you. If you lose, you'll lose 30, 40 points. If you win, you'll only gain 7 or 8. It's really not worth it. You should really pay attention to that rating bar. I would say probably don't don't let it drop 100 points below where you are. I think that's a good benchmark, and you should really use that when you're trying to make World Series, so you don't lose those games where you lose a ton of points and only gain a couple if you win it. It's just a waste of time, and it's definitely a big risk. Alright, so those are my tips on how to make World Series and MLB The Show 20. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Please leave a like, please subscribe to the channel, it really helps me out, I really appreciate it. And if you guys make World Series with these tips, let me know, I'd love to hear some success stories. Alright guys, thank you, appreciate it.